Roman legions were the first force in history to prove that wars are not won by raw courage alone, but by discipline, structure, and system. They were not merely soldiers swinging swords. They were a mechanism that planned, calculated, built, and destroyed when necessary. What transformed Rome from a small city-state into the master of the Mediterranean was not only emperors or politics, but the flawless operation of its legions. In this video, we will clearly understand how Roman legions were formed, how they fought, why they were so effective, and which technical and tactical principles made them far ahead of their time. A legion was the core operational unit of the Roman army, and what made it revolutionary was its professional nature. While most ancient states conscripted farmers only during wartime, Roman legionaries were soldiers year-round. Being a legionary was not a temporary duty, but a lifelong profession lasting decades. This created continuity, standardized training, and soldiers who reacted identically under pressure. The legion did not rely on individual heroism, but on collective cohesion, which fundamentally separated Rome from all its rivals. A Roman legion typically consisted of 4,800 to 6,000 soldiers, arranged in a strict hierarchy. The smallest unit was the contubernium, 8 soldiers who lived, marched, and fought together. 10 contubernia formed a centuria, commanded by a centurion. Several centuriae formed a cohort, and 10 cohorts formed a legion. This modular structure allowed Roman armies to operate both as massive formations and as flexible maneuver units, giving them unmatched adaptability on the battlefield. Centurions were the true backbone of the Roman legions. They were not noble officers, but hardened veterans who had proven themselves in battle. Their authority was unquestioned because they fought at the front lines alongside their men. This created a command culture based on fear, respect, and trust simultaneously. Orders flowed clearly from top to bottom, and once given, they were never debated. In the chaos of battle, this clarity prevented Roman units from collapsing. Discipline within Roman legions was uncompromising. Disobedience, cowardice, or breaking formation was punished harshly. The most infamous punishment, decimation, involved executing 1 out of every 10 soldiers in a disgraced unit. Although rarely enforced, its existence created constant psychological pressure. Roman soldiers preferred to hold formation rather than flee because disorder often meant a fate worse than death. This discipline made the legions exceptionally resilient under pressure. A Roman legionary was not only a fighter, but also a laborer and engineer. Upon reaching a new area, the army immediately built a fortified camp with standardized layout, trenches, and gates. Soldiers constructed roads, bridges, and siege engines. This logistical mastery allowed Roman armies to operate deep in enemy territory for extended periods without collapsing. Rome did not just conquer lands, it permanently organized them. Roman weapons were designed for efficiency, not decoration. The gladius was short, ideal for thrusting behind a shield. The scutum was large and rectangular, protecting not only the individual, but the formation as a whole. The pilum was engineered to bend upon impact, rendering enemy shields useless. Roman equipment focused on disabling enemy formations before killing them, turning battles into controlled executions rather than chaotic clashes. Roman legions viewed battle as a controlled process rather than uncontrolled violence. Before contact, pila were thrown to break enemy formations. Legionaries advanced behind locked shields, maintaining cohesion. The testudo formation protected soldiers from arrows and siege weapons. Units could rotate, retreat, and re-engage without losing order. This flexibility allowed Roman legions to dominate both offensive and defensive engagements. Certain legions became legendary. Julius Caesar's 10th Legion was famous for its loyalty and effectiveness during the Gallic Wars. The mysterious disappearance of the Ninth Legion remains one of Rome's greatest military enigmas. The Praetorian Guard, originally tasked with protecting the emperor, eventually became a political force capable of making or breaking emperors. These examples show that legions were not only military tools, but instruments of power. As the power of the Roman Empire slowly weakened, the legionary system that had sustained it for centuries began to fracture from within. What was once a structure held together by iron discipline started to crack under the weight of endless borders, constant campaigns, and crushing economic strain. Military service, once a badge of honor, gradually became a burden. Standards declined, training deteriorated, and Rome's soldiers were no longer the soldiers of old. Legionary service ceased to be a lifelong professional calling and turned into a temporary means of survival. Mercenaries flooded the ranks. Loyalty shifted from Rome itself to gold, to generals, and to political factions. The legions, once the empire's greatest strength, became instruments in internal power struggles. The very force created to protect Rome began to turn inward. Civil wars tore the empire apart, and legions that once marched under the same standards now faced one another on the battlefield. Discipline remained, but purpose was lost. The iron will of the legions, forged to defend the empire, became a weapon that fractured it. Rome was slowly crushed beneath the weight of its own military machine. As the borders collapsed, the old legionary structure could no longer hold. Barbarian incursions pressed in from all sides, and weakened legions were forced into retreat. The synchronized footsteps that once shook Europe now echoed defensively. The legions still fought, but they no longer dominated. Rome's heart continued to beat, but its arteries were severed. And then, Rome fell. Cities grew silent. Standards were lowered. Roads, bridges, and fortresses remained, but the will that had built and defended them vanished. The legions disbanded, their names fading into history. But the idea did not die. Roman legions were more than units that won battles. They were a system that defined how war should be organized, sustained, and controlled. Modern military discipline, rank hierarchies, logistical planning, and professional standing armies all trace their foundations back to Rome. Strategic command structures, standardized training doctrines, and the bond between state and soldier are legacies of the legion. Rome collapsed, but the concept of the legion spread across the world. From medieval armies to modern military academies, this inheritance remains Rome's true victory. The legions did not merely shape their own era, they shaped the centuries that followed. Rome is gone, but its marching will still echoes. And behind every disciplined army, somewhere, stands the shadow of the Roman legions.